And thank you for continuing with the Certificate 4 in Project Management. I am Trudy Robinson. This presentation will cover the topic of issues and their management. The objectives from this session are for you to understand and apply your knowledge of the identification of issues, the relationship to risk, and the ongoing management of issues. In PMBOK 4, Chapter 11 deals with risk management. There is no specific differentiation between issues and risk. Issues are managed as an ongoing risk. However, a reminder, a risk is a potential in the future planning and prevention exercise. Issues are actual and in the present. So why we manage issues relates specifically to the impact of that issue, so that we can plan and manage the current known issues which are affecting the project. We want to mitigate the impact and of course allocate the responsibility for the tasks that must be undertaken to manage that issue. We need to ensure that we raise awareness and ensure that all stakeholders know what is happening within the project and are aware of the issues that have been raised. The stakeholders also need to understand the impact on scope, any particular change, and of course any corrective actions. The most important thing when it comes to managing issues is to ensure that you get the support and that you provide the report. Potential impacts are very much the same as risk. The components of the project that may be impacted by an issue are very similar to risk. However, with risk, it is potential. With an issue, it is actual. So it is not looking at whether a risk will occur or not. It is with this issue what it will impact. So therefore you need to consider all the project deliverables, the schedules, the financial management, the resources. Every part of the project plan should be considered to determine what needs to be done about an issue that has occurred. The identification of issues comes from many places, and of course the first place that an issue may have been identified as part of the risk management plan. And of course the potential of how that issue will be managed may have already been identified. But of course issues occur when they have not been expected. The information that is returned from all the resources that are working on the project, feedbacks, reports and other forms of communication all contribute to the project manager being made aware of issues that will impact the project. Awareness and understanding of what is occurring in the project is the most important skill, which leads to control. In simple terms, remember, we have understood that risks were identified as part of the risk management plan. Once the risk occurs, it becomes an issue. So therefore it is now an issue, no longer a risk. It is in the present. Now you also know that issues occur without having been planned for as part of the risk management strategy. And of course, this is an ongoing basis. It does not happen once and then be forgotten. Risk and issue management occurs throughout the project. Whereas the evaluation of a risk is impact versus probability, with an issue we know that the probability is absolute. It has occurred. So therefore the concentration is on the impact. What will happen as a result of this issue occurring? What is needed? What resources are required? What is the impact on the scope? How will this issue be managed? The primary tool that is required as part of managing issues is the issue register. This is a chronological list of issues and their management throughout the project. It is not a separate register for every issue. It is one tool that if you read from the top to the bottom, you will understand all the issues that have occurred throughout the project. Communication tools are critical. The principle of no surprises for stakeholders is important. They need to know what's going on. The strategies of how an issue will be managed are often identified in the risk management plan. If this issue was understood to be a risk, there is likely to be some plan in place as to how that issue will be managed. However, this is often not the case, so therefore communications and updates to stakeholders is the first step. The transfer, for example, to insurance or contractual conditions is also appropriate. However, the thing that is most often required is the mitigation of the issue. It's reducing the impact of that issue on the project. If the impact of this issue cannot be mitigated for the project, it may need to be accepted. If it is not accepted, and this may impact changes within the project regarding contractual conditions, out-of-scope items, etc. The most important thing to do in relation to issues is to communicate. Forewarned is forearmed. Don't wait for the next project meeting and don't try and tell them just the good news stories. Be clear and be transparent. Outputs from issues, of course, may introduce new tasks to the work breakdown structure or Gantt chart. There may be change requests, decision records, corrective actions, reports, changes to the financial management, project plan updates, issue register updates. All these tools will be managed on an ongoing basis. In summary, risk management plan is the first step. Be open to all forms of feedback. Listen and evaluate from all the resources and all forms of feedback into the project. Communicate and inform back from the project out to all stakeholders. And manage the issue. Understand its impacts, what you need to do, and who will do it. The assessment criteria for the subject is that you will have an issue register template in your source area. You will have an example of the issue register completed for your chosen project. Unless your project is a live project or one that has occurred in the past where you understand what problems have occurred, it is likely that your issue register will be fictional. However, we need to see at least 5 issues that could occur and how you would plan to manage them.